Demon.com, and we're in the Google Keyword Planner. And today I'm going to look specifically at how you would use this at the beginning of a campaign for just about anything, whether it is a pay-per-click campaign, whether it is to optimize your pages for SEO, to rank highly in Google, Bing, Yahoo, Yandex, whoever else you want to rank highly in, whether it's to create content, which is all linked to the previous two, whether it's for social media, whether you're looking for hashtags. This is a really good place to start, and of course it's still free. I'm going to use the old favourite of mine, which is just the standard dog training. I don't have any sites in dog training, but we're going to stick dog training into one or more of the following. And I would start with this one. There is benefit in putting your landing page in there and your product category in there, but I would start with that. I've gone for English United Kingdom, so what comes up will be specific to England, United Kingdom. Okay, that's quick. Okay, let's go through the page. So first of all, remember where you're targeting. I haven't filtered out any negative keywords, so I may want to filter out things like muzzle, attack, things like that, dangerous dogs as a phrase in inverted commas. I may want to filter those out, but I'm not going to do that in this case. United Kingdom is the search remit, English is the language, I'm only looking at Google, and there we go. Now the first bit of useful information is it more or less gives you the seasonality of your niche. And as you can see, it's pretty flat line. It's about 140,000. It peaks, this is the main UK dog show called Crufts, and it always peaks interest with a little bit of overlap into the next month. That occurred in January into February. June is a slight lull, and July, but not much. August is actually pretty high, but it really is a very, very gentle sort of undulation there, no more than sort of 10 or 15% either way. You will see some where you really get a very pronounced sine wave, but there's just enough there for you to see that there is a tiny bit of seasonality here. Midsummer, before the dog days come, no pun intended, there's a bit of a lull. Okay, underneath that we have the main meat and drink. And there are other columns you can add here. There's a lot of other information you can add, but we're not going to. We're just going to stick to what comes up as standard. First of all, you had the ad group by relevance. Okay, this is an idea dating back to things like the sniper sites and before that. Google is telling you what it thinks is relevant. Just step back and have a little think about that for a moment. When you're writing keywords, keyword optimized content, which still works, it should be good content, but you need to know what keywords to include. When you're considering hashtags and when you're optimizing for particular words, when you're bidding for PPC, Google is telling you what is relevant, what it thinks is relevant. So for the phrase dog training, it's saying that dog, puppy training, and here's the phrase we had, dog training, they're all relevant. Okay, so we'll stick in this left hand column for a while, and we'll look into that a little bit further. So if you were doing a hashtag, you may do hashtag dog, hashtag puppy training is one word, hashtag dog training is one word, hashtag dog class is one word, and they'd all be pretty decent hashtags. So just moving on to the next side of it, what's the next point here? It's writing content for your own site. So again, not using this for PPC yet. We're thinking about, right, we want a site which is optimized for PPC. Before we go and we spend a fortune on PPC, we want a landing page which converts well and has a high quality score. I'll link to what Google quality score is in the article that accompanies this video. It is very important and can save you a lot of money or cost you a lot of money if you get it wrong. And quality score, while having technical factors like page speed, number of images and things like that in it, is very heavily based towards how in context and relevant the content on that page is to the keyword that you're bidding for. So if you're bidding for dog training, but your page is all about house building, for instance, and there's virtually no reference to dogs or puppies on it at all, you'll have a very low relevancy score, and the chances are that the quality score for that page will be negatively affected, and probably quite badly. And Google may not even run the ads or charge you such a lot for the ads. It's Google's way of turning what should be a straightforward Dutch auction, a blind auction, into having their own say in it and have their own quality metrics come to play. So you can be bidding more but actually come in lower than somebody else because your page in Google's eyes isn't of the high enough quality as a landing page you're sending them to. So you want to build a page that is relevant. So if you're looking at dog training, and here this number here tells you that there are 323 words that Google believes are specifically related to dog training, and if you click on that, it will come up with this list. And I'm just going to look at the first page here. Now there's a list of words here which don't involve dog or training. Now it's very easy here to go and pick out all of these words, say I'm going to write a post on this, I'm going to write a post on that, I'm going to include that in my article, that in my article, I'm going to include that in my article. Very quickly you'd see that the word trained or training is in all of these, and you'd very quickly fall foul of Panda, the quality and duplicate content update that Google runs. It's not so much duplicate content updates, although that is part of it, that looks for things like keyword spamming actually on your page, and you're using train, training and trained far too often if you did that. However, it's the words that surround those that you're going to want to look at. For instance, K9, alpha, Rockwood, whistle, Billericay. If you're in the UK, that might be important. I imagine there's a guard dog or guard, potty trainer dog, blimey. So there's a lot of other phrases here, and the value of this information is that Google is telling you explicitly here that it believes these other words are relevant. So when it's now putting 2 and 2 together here, and you're probably making around 4, this is probably a very good guess to say that if you based your landing page on a lot of the words here, a lot of the phrases here, and it carries on, there's actually, there's 320, there's 10, 11 pages of this, you would build a page which has a high likelihood of being seen as relevant and in context for dog training as far as Google was concerned. How to, K9, alpha, Rockwood, you add these in, Google says, this page is about dog training because it contains phrases which we know are relevant to dog training. And that's very important, because a page just with how to train your dog at the top and then just generic text underneath, A, isn't going to rank very well in SEO, and B, isn't going to provide a very good landing page for any pay-per-click, and C, isn't going to engage any audience or visitors that you have that land there. So you really, there's no point, even if you're trying to game the system and take shortcuts, there's just no point in doing it in that way. Keywords like dog training is probably even better. Here, this is a fantastic one. You've got crate training, clicker, so you've got crate. I think that's actually, part of that's banned in the UK now. They just had it on the telly this morning. Clicker, border collie, obedience, bull terrier, Rottweiler, canine again, Schutzhund, husky, animal behaviourist, Doberman, golden retriever, dog training as one word, not two, Siberian husky, leash. These are just all words you think, if I include these words in an 800 to 1,000 word article on my landing page, Google is telling me right here that it believes they are irrelevant. Okay, this is how, these are the keywords for any content you would write. Okay, so let's leave this left hand column and move across. And here the keywords is a summary of any keywords which come under there. So these are the same keywords. If we click on there, it just gives you the dot there. It's just that list. Here is the seasonality graph in terms of search volume for that particular keyword. It's a pretty good measure of the seasonality for the niche in general. You see here, it's sort of an exaggerated version of the one at the top. If I pop back on it, the trend's the same, but although the emphasis is even greater. It still dips down in June and July, goes up in August, September, October. It's still highest in January, which is here, with a lump over in February, but it's even more exaggerated than the one there. It's quite a lot more exaggerated. But it does tell you the seasonality. So if you get to about June there, or every time I do that comes off it, that's June, March, April, May, June. It's going to be a lull. It's going to be 15 or 20% less than it is at the moment in March, which is quite a high month. So that's pretty handy to know the seasonality. The average monthly searches. Okay, now the two figures here which really should be the biggest value for anybody are the average monthly searches and the competition. And they're not bad. If you rank number one for a particular phrase in Google. So for instance, if you typed in dog into Google and your site came up number 1, you would expect to get around 45% of whatever the total number of monthly searches was for that term. Now, this is just in the UK. If you ranked number 1 for the world, it would be substantially higher than 24,000. It would be in the hundreds of thousands. And you'd get around 45% of those ranking 1. Because that's, on average, 45% of people click on number 1 in Google, and it's about 34% click on number 2. It drops off, so you get to about number 8, and you're down to barely 1%. And these days, of course, you're on page 2 with number 8 because page 1 of Google often only has 7 results on it. So 24,000, you'd get about 45% of those, which would be around 10,000. So you may expect, if you got to number 1 in Google for that phrase in the UK, you'd get around 10,000 visitors per month clicks to that page, or people searching for it who would click on the number 1 result. And it would be, follow the metrics down, 30% for number 2, low 30s for number 3, 20s for number 4, depending on how far down. Then you have the competition. This is interesting. Dog has low competition. Why? Because there is no buying or commercial imperative in dog. If somebody take this literally, here's a very important thing. Take these results absolutely literally. This is somebody typing in dog. Okay? If they type in dog training, then there is a verb attached to it. There's puppy training. Then there is the dog, the puppy, and they want to train it. So there's an activity involved, a process that person is looking to get involved with. And there is the reasonable likelihood of a cost being involved in that, or at least the ability to sell stuff, even if it's just an idea. It could be a course, it could be take your dog away and do training, it could be train the trainer, it could be equipment to help train your dog, or it could just be download my ebook and become part of my list. There is some commercial viability to puppy training because there's an action involved to it, but dog on its own, very, very little. Somebody types in dog, it's probably somebody just wants a picture of a dog to download, a dog lover who just wants to see just pictures of dogs, talk about dogs, chat about dogs. Very little commercial intent on dog, and this is reflected in the fact that competition is low, and the suggested bid is also pretty low. If you go to dog classes, which is similar to dog training, you'll see it's a little bit lower, but it's a little bit more specific, and the bid required, Google suggests, should be a little bit higher. Competition is medium. Dog courses, you'd think that class and course would be the same thing. In fact, it's much lower search volume and a high competition and suggested bid. So a course, it's probably even more active. It's probably even more likely to involve somebody buying something. Somebody's typing in dog courses. They may have a dog they're having trouble with, or just a puppy they want to get trained, and they are actively looking for a course for that dog. Okay, let's have a look at some other high ones. Training collars, that and training leads, very, very similar. In fact, they're probably training leads a little bit lower. Training collars 72. I mean, you don't really have a training lead; it's the collar that's the training, isn't it? But very similar in terms of 1880 odd high, 72p, 47p. So that's about $1.05, and that's about 75-80 cents. And we've got low again, Labrador training. Again, that could be one you may want to bid on. So you get this idea of what the competition is like and what search volume you may get if you were to rank number 1 in Google. However, that isn't what these are actually for. These are specifically for pay-per-click. Okay, these are specifically for people using AdWords. And although you can extrapolate that this is the number of people that really do search for it, there are a few little factors that Google put into the metrics which they let you see here. You could, if you SEO'd a site and ranked naturally for dog, make quite a bit of money out of it with various sorts of monetization, sidebar banners, download brochures, whatever else you want, join up to mailing lists. But in terms of pure pay-per-click, there's not much competition. People aren't paying for the phrase dog and dog alone. As soon as you add a buying imperative or an action to dog, it costs a lot more, but dog on its own, very little. The last thing I would look at here is the actual price. Now, I've mentioned it, and I'd say that it really is, this is pretty hopeless. I've ranted on about this before. when you're setting up a pay-per-click campaign and you have a look at this and it says suggested bid 56, I know now from experience from doing pay-per-click campaigns for many years that a good pay-per-click campaign would probably have several sub-campaigns running under it. For instance, if I wanted for some strange reason to do a pay-per-click campaign for dog, I would look at the seasonality. I may set up my campaign to bid less in the down months, more in the higher months when there's more competition. I may have a different bidding strategy to the weekend as opposed to during the week, a different bidding strategy after 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening as opposed to during working hours, different bidding strategy in January and February as opposed to the rest of the year. And I may actually have several campaigns that turn on and off underneath the main campaign. I might have several keyword campaigns underneath there that turn on and off depending on the time of year, the time of day, and even the sort of days of the week and the seasonality of the niche. There's all sorts of reasons why I may do that. So I may have 6 or 7 campaigns under there. But what I'd say about all of them was this would be wrong. And it would be wrong always the same way. This is always low. As soon as I put this in, I would almost guarantee that I'd get a little orange bit of text come up saying, not first page bid too low, suggest you bid, and it'd be something like £1.20 to £1.80. Now, I understand that this is an average. This is probably made an average of all the different times and places and during the seasonalities that could go in there. But if that really was the case, then sometimes this would be a little bit high. Sometimes you say, oh, actually, you happen to be bidding at a really slack time of year, so you can actually bid a little bit less. It never, ever says that. You put in the suggested bid, and it's always low. By the very same tool, you know, you're in Google Adwords still, and it says it's very low, and it's always low by a very large amount. You'd have to, most often it's a case of doubling this and then maybe multiplying it by 2.5 to get rid of the little orange sign. Now, you don't have to do that. You can still bid 56p or even lower, and you will still get some impressions. But that's just a little bugbear of mine. I'm not a big fan of the way Google sort of obfuscates this data, and it seems to be deliberate. They've been doing it since I've been doing AdWords, and it's a well-known thing. Everybody who does PPC through Google understands that this is what happens, and nobody's really got a good answer other than the fact that Google are pretty evil at the end of it all as to why they do it. They entice you in with a low. It's like a shop saying, come in and get our sale, and as soon as you walk through the door, there is no sale. And you know, and we're still falling for it 20 years on. It's a bit, I'm not. You know, it's not very good at all. But anyway, so these are a good idea. But what they are, if you understand to multiply this by about 2.2, they do give you an idea. Because they're always wrong by roughly the same amount. You can always make that judgment. They're consistent at least, even if they're wildly wrong. So you know that this one, dog courses, is going to be nearly double the cost of just dog. Whether it's 98p or £2, I don't know, but it will be roughly double that because that side of it is consistent. Likewise down here, this one, guide dogs, 86p is going to be more expensive. This one, dog toilet, is going to be cheap, maybe something that's sellable as well. This one as well, training books, not so much for dogs, I'd have thought. So here we've got a few, just to sum up here in the last few seconds, what have we got? Well, through the Google Keyword Planner tool and just through using the basic functionality of your main theme, you've got various things. First of all, you get the seasonality of your niche, which you can look at in more detail down here, phrase by phrase, but generally, as you can see, it generally follows a very similar pattern. It gives you the keywords which are relevant, which you can then use to build your content for landing pages, decide your pay-per-click campaign, and also consider as tags for your social media campaign. It gives you the ones you should be using, and it tells you that they're relevant. It can't. That's the one bit of total transparency that Google gives you, and yet I still see loads of people build content for their sites not understanding that Google's telling them what's relevant. Get in there and use it. It gives you an idea, rough idea of what your visitor levels would be depending on ranking, which is very handy. Again, whether you use pay-per-click, whether you do natural ranking, it gives you an idea of the competition for pay-per-click. Now, this isn't the competition for ranking. This is the competition, the keyword competition. There will be incredible natural search competition for the phrase dog. There won't be incredible pay-per-click competition for the word dog. It gives you an idea for suggested bid, which, as a rule of thumb, I'd double if you actually want to Google to show your ad pretty regularly. And it lets you do all the usual functionality here, which is actually build your own AdWords campaign. So that's the keyword planner tool as it is now. It's a really handy tool to use, and I would always use it right at the beginning of any campaign to sort out what content I was going to write, what words worth going for, what sort of traffic I may expect, whether a pay-per-click campaign is worthwhile, and a few ideas about what hashtags to use for things like Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus and wherever, because most places now use hashtags. So there's a whole wealth of idea here, and in just 20 minutes there's pretty much everything you're going to need. And of course you can if I can find it, yeah, you can download this. If you've got Excel, it downloads it. There's extra columns you can add as well. It's really pretty darn good. So there we go. That's Scritty at demondemon.com with the first part of setting up your on-site SEO. Is a good place to go is Google AdWords tool, because Google tells you what it thinks is relevant and contextual, and lots of other stuff. Scritty signing off.